Hi guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to draft a pencil skirt with hip butt effect. This method works for both slim and fat people. So the first thing I went ahead to do was to draft my skirt length minusing 2 inches for my band. I went ahead to fixing all the necessary lines, the hip line and the lower hip as well. After that, I went ahead to insert the waist measurement, adding my sewing allowance as you can see in the video. Then for the hip, I divided my measurement by 4. Then I minused 1 inch from the actual measurement. After minusing that 1 inch, before I now added the sewing allowance. Now take note, this 1 inch, we're still going to add it back when drafting the back pattern. I went ahead to put in my lower hip measurement, added the necessary allowance and straight up to give it a curve. After curving it, I came down by half an inch at the waist area towards the center front. As you can see, then I connect the lines. After connecting it, I went ahead to cut out the front pattern. So for the back pattern, I gave 2.5 inches for the zipper allowance. After doing that, I went ahead to connect the hip line and the waistline. So for the back, I went ahead to insert my waists as usual, divided by 4, adding my sewing allowance. Then for the hip, I went ahead to divide by 4 and added my zipper allowance. I did not deduct anything from the hip at the back, so please take note. After doing that, I went ahead to add the sewing allowance. Then for the back, you remember we minused 1 inch from our front pattern, right? So that 1 inch, we're going to put it back at the back towards the zipper area. Now please take note, I've not added my zipper allowance. So after adding that 1 inch, I went down by 4 inches as you can see, then connected that 1 inch to that 4 inch, then the waist to that 1 inch, just as you can see. If you follow this process, it's going to give you exactly the same result. After doing that, I now went ahead to shape my skirt, just as you can see, adding the necessary measurement needed, including my sewing allowance. So now it was time to add my zipper allowance. All this while we've not added our zipper allowance. Okay, so for the zipper allowance, I determined the allowance I wanted. I went ahead to put in 1.25 for my zipper allowance, so that is me marking it there, just as you can see. I followed that 1 inch now to put in my zipper allowance, following the 1 inch curve. Then I went ahead to connect the line straight down to the length of the skirt. So guys, do well to follow this method. It works very well for fat people. You don't need to start adjusting your hip all the time when you're sewing for your fat clients. So after doing that, I went ahead to connect the lines. Then towards the waist area, I went up by half an inch. Then connect the lines. After that, I went ahead to cut out the whole process. So don't forget to follow us, like and share, and don't forget to leave a comment. This is very important, and I hope this video is helpful so far. So when sewing the skirt, may ensure you take all these sewing allowance or all your measurement rather on the front pattern of this skirt. Do not take your measurement from the back. All the measurements should take place from the front. So for example, let's say your hip is 40 inches. The 40 inches, remember when we divided by 4, we minused 1 inch while drafting. So by the time you open, it's going to be 2 inch. So if your hip is 40 inches, when you divide, it's going to be giving you 20. So instead of drafting and marking out 20, you're going to mark 18 because it was minus while drafting. So that's how you're going to do the sewing. And by the time you're sewing, ensure all the side seam are equally placed. One should not be longer than one, just as you can see in this video. One should not be longer than one. So after putting all your necessary measurements, you go ahead and sew. So this is me sewing the skirt. As you can see, I'm doing this process so we can know how to join it. So you can see I'm ensuring all the skirts joining is equal. There's no one is no longer than the other. Everything is all equal, just as you can see in the video. Okay, so after doing this process, the next thing is to fix our zipper area. So that zipper area, you have to take note of that 1 inch we added. Taking note of that 1 inch we added, you're going to use your chalk, mark out the allowance you gave for your zip. Earlier on, I gave 1.25 inch zipper allowance, so I went ahead to mark that on the skirt, just as you can see, so I can follow the shape I wanted. So ensure you're following this exact shape, then determine where you want your slit to stop. I determined mine, I wanted it to stop there, so I followed this chalk to sew my zipper area. So ensure to do same. I indicated where I wanted my zip to stop and I went ahead to sew. So use this method, you're going to like the results you'll be getting, and you will not have your client saying, please adjust all the time. Okay, I've been using this method and it's working for me, and look at my beautiful clients looking all nice. The dress look so good on her. So guys, hope this was helpful.